Well, welcome back from your break. It is my pleasure now to introduce Caroline Slobodzian from the Secular Coalition for America, which was already featured in our trivia contest earlier this conference. Caroline is the development manager for the Secular Coalition for America, and she has been doing nonprofit fundraising work for 9 years and has a rich history with a lot of different prestigious organizations. I encourage you to check out her bio in the proceedings for all of the details. And with that, I urge you to welcome me and join me in welcoming me.
Hi everyone. Can everyone hear me? Yeah?
Raise your voice a bit.
Now can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah? Great. I'm here to talk to you guys today about why you should try and be an activist in your own community. And I'm going to warn you now, I'm not a very good public speaker because I do fundraising. But I can talk to you one-on-one and it will be great, but I'm not used to speaking publicly very much, so just kind of try to bear with me. Basically, if you have a yearning in your heart to make life better on this planet or to right some wrong or support some effort, large or small, then you're an activist. I've been an activist since I was 12. I grew up in Germany, and I remember reading an article in the newspaper saying a bunch of American kids tortured animals and burned down a rescue animal shelter. I was horrified that people, most likely classmates of mine, yeah, this gets better, it gets better, mostly classmates of mine would do such a thing, and also that the German community would be led to think that all Americans were like this. So I held a bake sale at my school to raise money to restore the shelter, which ended up generating a lot of media attention since the Americans were the ones that were undoing the damage that was done to the German community by their peers. And this helped shed a positive light on a horrible event and most likely changed the opinions of people about Americans. Ever since then, I've been working on righting what I see as the wrongs of the world, mainly in American policies that affect people both nationally and internationally. I'm kind of a superhero in that way. I was supposed to say don't laugh, but August is the only one who laughed. So, I work for the Secular Coalition for America, which is, if you guys aren't familiar with it, it's a coalition composed of about 10 member groups, of which the Secular Student Alliance is one. We lobby the Senate and Congress on issues that affect secular Americans. And even though I'm not a lobbyist, as a fundraiser, I still have to advocate for the issues that we work on. And in fact, I feel like I've come full circle because this is where I actually graduated from college. So it's I've been gone for about 10 years, and now I'm coming back and talking in a place where I had classes. It's kind of an interesting feeling. So a little bit more about the Secular Coalition. How do we go about affecting public policy changes or preventing bad policies from being enacted? That's by lobbying. And I don't actually lobby, but I do help those get paid who do lobby. The Secular Coalition made hundreds of lobby visits this year, including face-to-face meetings with 55 U.S. senators. The purpose of some of our visits was to introduce the coalition to new members. Our visits, which might be with congressional members or staffers alone, are for the purpose of providing legislators with information they need to understand how particular bills affect non-theistic Americans or to take a particular stand on a bill that matters to our constituency. Here's an important point that might distinguish us from many other non-theistic groups. The Secular Coalition never walks into a congressional office to argue about personal theology. We respect every American's right to hold whatever beliefs they wish to hold. We only object when someone attempts to use the power of the state to impose their theology on others. Some of the most effective lobbying work we do is in allied coalitions. From day one, the Secular Coalition has been invited to participate with groups like the Baptist Joint Committee for Religious Liberty, the Interfaith Alliance, and the Religious Action Center for Reform Judaism, as well as allies that are neither theistic nor non-theistic, but share our commitment to church-state separation, such as Americans United for Separation of Church and State and the American Civil Liberties Union. Moreover, we've worked in groups with many other allies on specific issues like education and reproductive rights. What kind of issues do we work on? Well, so far this year we worked on our own and with allies to ensure private religious schools are included in proposed legislation banning corporal punishment, condemn the new social studies standards passed by the Texas State Board of Education, and to eliminate funding for abstinence only until marriage sex education. Remove charitable choice provisions from several pieces of legislation. In the past, we've also worked against symbolic attempts to blur the line between church and state or privileged religions. Specifically, we've opposed resolutions claiming that our history is that of a Christian nation and that our government should be permitted to endorse religious symbols, attempts to engrave the words, "In God We Trust" on federal buildings, and oppose the federal funding of the Boy Scouts of America until they stop discriminating against members, employees, and volunteers on the basis of religion and sexual orientation. Instead of feeling frustrated in front of the TV watching news or political shows, here's some ways that I've learned to get things done. 1, speak out about an issue. Don't remain silent, but don't scare people away. Try to express your concern in a positive manner. As Teddy Roosevelt said, do what you can, where you are, with what you have. 2, find like-minded people to join you. Pass a petition around and have folks give their name and email address. Contact them soon after so that you can remind them why they gave you their information to begin with, and enlist their help in following through with the action you want to see happen. 3, figure out what officials are creating the problem and which are able to solve the problem. Don't demonize them, for they're often as concerned as you. It's not a conspiracy that the world is the way it is. It's just the way it is, and it can be changed. 4, keep organized. Keep track of supporters' names, addresses, telephone numbers, email addresses, and whatever else comes down the pike. Build that list. Share the work by sharing your concern. Delegation of work means you trust people to help. That trust will help you get things done. 5, find people who are working on the same issue or who have worked against similar opponents. If nothing else, you'll pick up some new supporters or allies, or perhaps even some words of caution. 6, use the internet to educate yourself or call up folks at the Secular Coalition for America and ask them questions. 7, try to meet with people who are on your side and those who are against it. And when you do have a meeting with those people, whether it's the Dean of Ohio State, your state senator, or your member of Congress, here are some tips to keep in mind. These tips are also included in your packet, so you don't, if you're writing things down, you don't have to write that down, but I'm going to go over them. There's some best practices. 1, make an appointment. When making an appointment, know what issues you want to discuss and outline them for the legislator. Note if you're covering several different issues, they might want several different people from the office to meet with you. Get to know your legislators. Become familiar with their districts and constituencies, voting records, schedules for being in the Capitol and being at home in their district, expertise, interests, and views. Become familiar with the legislators' concerns and priorities. Contact legislators before you have an issue that you want addressed. Learn the legislative process. Understand how ideas work their way through the process to become laws or programs. Stay abreast of events and issues in the community and legislator. State your purpose. Make it clear that you're a constituent and why you've asked for this meeting. Be straightforward in your presentation. Be brief and concise. Chances are you'll have a very limited amount of time, about 3 to 5 minutes if you're meeting with your public official, with the actual public official, and probably about 15 minutes if you're meeting with the staffer. Be prepared. Be open to negotiation. Not every legislator or staffer will agree with your position, but some may be willing to try and incorporate your ideas into their policies and opinions. Be honest, straightforward, and realistic. Don't expect that your individual visit will lead a legislator to support or oppose something. Recognize that some people will be more sensitive to your point of view than others. Just as you wouldn't want somebody to judge you because of what you think, don't judge others because they have a different perspective than you do. Instead, stick to your principles, but don't make things personal. Timing is everything. Don't think that just because they're not working on your issue now that you shouldn't visit them. Oftentimes, legislators plan out their position on upcoming legislation months in advance, so it's important to weigh in with them earlier rather than later. Leave evidence. Bring written materials to leave with your legislator or staffer containing more information about the issue at hand. This will provide a reminder of your visit and a refresher on the points you've made. So it's helpful to include a reputable news story that highlights your perspective in the packet of materials. Be sure to follow up with your legislators and staff. If a staffer asks you a question and you don't know the answer to it, tell them you'll get back to them. Don't make an answer up. Or if a staffer requests more information on something you mentioned, send it to them. Try to keep the channels of communication open for as long as possible, and don't forget to always say thank you. Make sure that you send a thank you note afterwards to both the staffer you met with and to the legislator if you met with him or her. Policymakers get hundreds of letters of criticism for every letter of appreciation they receive. If your legislator does what you ask them to do, thank them again and consider writing a letter to the editors of your community newspapers, thanking them by name for their leadership and support. And if you want to get more involved, you can always call the Secular Coalition for America and we'll help you set up a visit, and we'll go with you to lobby your representative or congressional member. And we have three programs that we have at Secular Coalition for America that for students that can get involved in, which are new. One just started. It's called the Capitol Hill Scholarship Program. And what we do is each spring we're going to be accepting applications. We sponsor somebody who's coming, a college student who's coming to work on Capitol Hill, either for a senator or a representative. Who is a secular student who will be working for the summer. We sponsor them, and with the hope that they will be helping to advocate for secular issues in D.C. So that's a summer program, and we're also introducing. Right now, we're taking applications for the fall leadership program, but this is open to D.C. college students. So you have to be enrolled in a D.C. college to participate in it. And what we're training them for is leadership in the non-theistic community by educating them on our policy goals, as well as they would take place with bi-monthly program events, and they're going to help us plan and promote our Spring Policy Summit, first time ever in D.C., where we're trying to get secular students and leaders to discuss the future of the secular movement and get their ideas. So those are three ways that you can get involved with our organization. And also, I would love, outside we have a booth, if you would sign up, if you're not getting them already, for our legislative action alerts, so you can keep abreast of the legislative issues affecting secular Americans. And we also have our, which I lost, brochures that are out there. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me.